The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
Hello, and welcome to another Soccer to the Max, as we are now fully into the summer of soccer after the Under-20 World Cup concluded. We are now in the Confederation Cup mode, and we'll talk about one game right now and then the other two games from Sunday in just a little bit. But I am not alone here, as always, Mr. Erik Watkins.
Mailman!
They certainly acted like mailmen today, and representing the other side, the winning side, Miss Rachael McKriger.
The home country, you have done me so well. And a message to Fox Sports, it is not St. Petersburg with Saint spelled out. It is S-T. Ugh, lazy.
I'm surprised you didn't learn how to say the final score in Russian, just to kind of give an extra oomph. I was waiting for that, to be honest.
Maybe next time.
She doesn't have the Putin pressure. You know?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Last time I checked, Putin dresses up in hockey gear and claims to score 7 or 8 goals in a game. When you have that, and you have an entire 30-day event centered around you have to win one tournament at all costs, or your Gatorade will be spiked with polonium. That's Putin pressure. I did not sense that from this.
Well,
now,
he
granted,
did.
If he steps on the pitch shirtless and runs around and acts like Pele, yeah, then I can see Putin pressure going. But until that happens, or until Beck Bennett decides to go out there and do it for him, no. Just no.
Fine. We'll have to argue about that later, but either way, Russia did beat New Zealand 2-0. They're lucky it's 2-0, thanks to Stefan Marinovic making some big saves to keep it that way. Russia looked really good, and New Zealand looked really bad. Rachel?
Yeah, I mean, Russia, their attack was like on fire for the whole game, honestly. I mean, they applied pressure. They had, what was it? They had 4 corners in the span of the first 10 minutes or 15 minutes. It was just, they just kept pressuring, and New Zealand really didn't answer it with anything. They were just kind of bland and boring.
In perfect all-white fashion, the Confederations Cup started with a New Zealand own goal. I mean, that's just the ideal start. If I were to just design and pay people for how the tournament would start, it would be, okay, 20 minutes in, New Zealand does something stupid, they score on the back of their own net. I'm really close to that time, but I was like, okay, the tournament has officially begun.
That's what everybody was waiting for. Was
I swear,
the all-white own goal.
Exactly, and if I had the foresight to call up a Las Vegas sportsbook, I would have put some money on that.
Well, Russia can sleep easy knowing that they got the 3 points they desperately needed, knowing who they have to face in the rest of Group A. We'll talk about that game in a little bit, but since we have Rachel here for a limited time, yeah, I'm sure she is still getting off the high of Russia winning, but let's talk some MLS All-Star game. I know it's still 2 months away, pretty much, but they are letting people vote for given the fan vote anyway. I don't know if this really means anything for the actual players who get there. I think this is just a separate fan vote that they do. But all right, Rachel, who do you have on your? I guess they only let you pick 10 for some reason. But yeah.
Well, that's because of the FIFA folks. They're like, hey, we have video games. For some reason, our hardcore players use MLS players. Why, I don't know, but it's like, to give them more incentive, every goal scored by an MLS player counts as a vote. I don't know.
Do every day.
Yeah, I was reading that, and I was like, okay, it seems complicated to keep a track of, but more power to them.
I mean, they got to keep track of it for when they update the rosters, I guess, so go them. But who you got, Rachel?
Should I start like goalkeeper defense?
Yeah, let's start there.
All right. Goalkeeper, I have New York City FC's Sean Johnson. Defense, I have Steve Birnbaum of DC United, Jonathan Spector of Orlando City SC, and Jovan Jones of the Seattle Sounders. In the midfield, I have, ready, Erik, Bastian Schweinsteiger.
Ha!
Christian Roldan. Michael Bradley. And side note, I read an article the other day that was like, Michael Bradley is the most underrated player ever. And it started out with, I know what you're thinking, and I thought, this is a great way to start an article. I'm so in.
Wow.
No, I can get down with that. I'm like, all right, okay, this could get interesting. I'll give this some credit.
Sean, you'll be happy I put Kellen Acosta in here. And then for my two forwards, I put Giovanni Dos Santos and Sebastian Giovinco of Toronto FC.
I don't think those are bad choices.
The midfield kind of tripped me up.
Midfield's got a lot of people you could put in there.
And it was tough to pick Steve Birnbaum over Matt Hedges. I mean, yeah, Steve Birnbaum over Matt Hedges, but I don't know, man. I just went with my gut feeling.
That's okay. That's fair. I feel like I can't really give a team that's given up so many goals any kind of spot in the defense, but that's just me. That's why I can't pick Bill Hamid, even though technically he's the statistically best goalkeeper. Even though it's not his fault, but at some point, you know, like...
Well, I mean, think about it. Hand of Claude moment aside, imagine how much worse that team would be without him.
Oh. Yeah. I
think you just gave DC United fans an aneurysm.
Hey, DC United fans? Yeah, still leaving RFK, aren't you? Yeah, you're welcome.
I think they're pretty happy to leave RFK considering how the team plays in RFK. He's steaming.
After this, I have a delicious bottle that's still a third full of Sangriana Sangria that I purchased from Aldi, a wonderful store. Liter and a half for only $5.99. It will be consumed. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, at least he's had it for a week. Right, I mean, you could have drank it all in 2 days. So
no, this has lasted me about at least a week and a half or more. So I'm on a good pace. I'm not terribly an alcoholic. Plus, I have other confectionery treats that I can balance it out with. So, moderation is key, folks.
I don't know. I feel like Gio didn't really start doing anything until really late in the season. So that's why I couldn't really go with him. I was kind of looking at the whole season in general.
I think I just kind of picked him because you're always going to have that one player, or few players, I guess, based on their name. And I was going to put Clint Dempsey in that spot, but, like, at least Gio has done something. Dempsey really hasn't done anything.
That's why I think Schweinsteiger is going to get in, even if there might be guys that have done more than him, because they want the name guys.
Especially against Real Madrid, which, yeah.
Well, I wonder if somebody will have paid that 200 million euro buyout clause for Ronaldo by then.
I could have sworn, I really thought that Real was being legit when they initially announced like $1 billion similar buyout clause, because I'm like, I could, at some point and down the road, I heard that, and I'm like, yes, I could see that happening, the way that he could be playing.
I'm pretty sure like financial fair play would strike them down at that point.
Yeah, that'd be the only... Oh, yeah, financial fair play in UEFA and FIFA. Like, that's terribly important.
They'd be like, no, you can't pay $1 billion, €1 billion for a player.
Oh, but you can pay $1 billion for a World Cup. Yeah, I'll see that while wearing my Santa Claus hat in Qatar in a few years. I am just laying out facts, ladies and gentlemen. There are charges. The Swiss government has said that they have 25 separate investigations. It's out there.
So if they convict them, does that mean they have to change? They have to take it out of Qatar or something?
I would hope to God. At that point, I would put one of those skin-tight red, white, and blue suits and fly to FIFA headquarters myself and say, here, we are right here. We can host. Wave around and hold up signs and firecrackers and things if I have to.
Let us have Russia host again.
Hey, I wouldn't complain.
Okay, if someone were to buy me off with a couple cases of vodka, I would shut up. But until that happens, sorry, Rachel. No offense.
None taken.
So, Erik, who do you got in...
Okay, now, keep in mind, I did this vote when voting initially opened. I had guys like my boy Kyle Laren. Of course, I had Schweinsteiger in there. Ha! Can't leave out. I couldn't do it at that time. I had a Calm and a Costa, but I'm just like, I just had to change my mind too much. So, as I teased, my keeper is Bill Hamid, because poor dude, you can't blame him that 9 out of the other 10 players are playing like crap. He's the one actually trying and caring on a consistent basis. For my defense, Jonathan Spector, Taylor Kemp, also DC United. He's the other player that hasn't been playing like crap and actually cares on a consistent basis. And after having fallen in love with the experiment, I put Graham Zusi back in the back three. I'm thinking, while I initially didn't like it, he's holding his own, definitely improving, and I think if he winds up being the guy, he could cause a teeny bit of frustration to Real Madrid. At least help the MLS 11 do something.
I was close to putting Zusi, so I will give you that one a nice round of applause.
Why, thank you. Midfield, though, I am prepared to take an L and a little bit of heat for this one. I don't mind. Had to put in Dax McCarty simply because he has been working wonders. Miguel Almiron, because he finally learned to shoot and do a little bit more out of the midfield, especially in an attacking mode. But the other two guys, I have to give credit for a lot more creativity, if you will. Roman Alessandrini of LA Galaxy, and Benny Feilhaber of Sporting Kansas City.
Fair enough. I have Alessandrini too, so I agree with you there. He's the one guy on the Galaxy that's been consistent the whole year.
Okay, and for my 2 forwards, part of me hated to do it, but part of me also didn't want to reward stupid. Laren out, Altidore in. Also, someone who likes to score his goals in pairs up in the Pacific Northwest, I put in Adi from the Timbers. I'm thinking, somehow I feel this could work.
Can't really argue with Adi. He's been
him and Diego
so
Char.
So that is my 10, and yeah, don't have enough time to even play FIFA 17, so you ain't getting those votes for me, MLS. Sorry about your luck.
FIFA 17 can go suck it. So
did you at least do the X-Pac motion while you did that? It sounded like it.
No. I would have to be doing it multiple times because X-Pac didn't just do it once. He did it like 5 times, like he's having a, orgasm every time he did it or something.
Well, considering the kind of injuries that man has suffered, I mean, yeah.
I mean, he also had sex with China, so on video.
This is true. I have that video as part of my collection.
Why?
Used.
Curiosity, mainly. It's just one of those things. It's like, it's
terrible.
there, you may as well have it.
Okay, so getting back to the soccer, I have Joe Bednick from Orlando City because I couldn't give it to Hamid. He's had way too many goals scored against. Bednick has a less goals against average, and Orlando's playing much better too.
Yeah, but emphasis on their playing much better.
Right, but are you going to give the MVP to a team that's playing like crap? No, it's the same thing. I don't put people on the All-Star game that their team is playing badly.
Yeah, but I'm like I said, it's like, okay, look at how they are with him. Imagine how they would be without him. I see Orlando with Bednick, and I'm thinking they're pretty awesome. But if you put our reserve keeper in, I don't think there would be a tremendous amount of drop-off. Without
Hamid's not the reason they're not scoring goals. So,
well, he's also the reason they're not losing 5-6-0.
Right. They're still losing, though. They still lost tonight, too. Just saying.
Oh, don't remind me. I need to go up there and do some sort of rain dance or something.
I want to see Erik do a rain dance now.
Hey, I have both Cherokee and Blackfoot in my heritage. That should count for something.
There you go. Figure out the ritual and go up there to RFK and do it.
Exactly. Right in the middle of the circle. And just let everything else take care of itself.
All of a sudden they start winning because Erik did the rain dance. It would be amazing.
They give me a key to the city. I maybe get a government position. I can see it all happening now.
There you go. See, you could stop the stadium from happening, and they'd play in RFK.
Oh, hell yeah!
Probably the only person that really wants that. I put Iko Para, who's been tremendous for Sporting KC, Matt Hedges, and Jonathan Spector. So we all agreed on Jonathan Spector, at least.
Awesome this year.
He has been that. Miguel Almiron. Go ahead, sorry. It's like he's just like come back and then been like, wow, where's this guy been?
And now he's back on Arena's radar too with the men's national team. Coming back to the MLS like resurrected him from the dead.
Oh, yeah. Anybody that's in MLS, Arena's like, oh, yeah, MLS. He goes on my team right now. You can go read Rachel's column about that on WTMnet.com about why there's a need for more foreign-based players, less Arena being all up on MLS. But, hey, I'm sure U.S. Soccer loves it because the, league is getting a lot of fanfare for that. Of course, when they lose, they're going to get blamed for that. So, goes both ways, U.S. Soccer. Anyway, I agree with Erik on Alessandrini. He's been the guy that's made LA go the whole season. Gio Dos Santos has stepped it up lately, but, even when they were losing, Alessandrini was the guy they counted on. Same reason why I'm putting Justin Merriman for Columbus Crew. That guy has been scoring goals, even has a hat trick, and he gets things going in midfield for Columbus. That guy has been tremendous. Schweinsteiger has been doing the same thing for Chicago. I think even though I'd love to put Dax in because you're going to have one holding midfielder in here or something, I feel like Schweinsteiger gets in because that's his name. And look, he's been doing great things. So let's not kid ourselves there. Sebastian Giovinco and Nikolic from Chicago leading the league in goals. Come on, this man has to be in your starting 11 if you're making a part of the reason why Chicago is doing so well. Nikolic scoring like 12 or 13 goals now.
If you're going for an offensive mindset and counting on a high scoring match, yeah, I can see where your head's at here.
Well, they don't go by, this isn't baseball. They're not actually trying to, oh my God, so you get something out of winning the game. They're trying to field the best 11 by methods.
And I understand that, but I'm thinking, the best 11 and tactically knowing Real Madrid and what they're going to do, let's see how we can at least give ourselves the best showing and some good entertainment. And if you put that kind of lineup especially with Nikolic, that shows me a more offensive, say, okay, this could be 3-3-4-4, and we'd be just fine with that. And I think that would actually be more of a blessing for MLS than anything else.
You really think they'll play a 3-4-4?
Look, if it winds up a 4-4 match, I'm going to be okay.
I don't know. I wonder if Real Madrid didn't just run them off the park again, but
they probably will, but at least let me dream.
Hey, it could be one of those 1-0 nail biters for all we know. That's just depends on what we get when the game happens on August 2nd, really. But yeah, those are our MLS fan vote 10 for now. We can, I guess, if somebody's drastically changed by the time we get to August 2nd, we can talk about it again. But Rachel, there's been some NWSL action happening.
Yes, there has, and surprisingly, I was quite surprised with how the Pride did. A 4-2 win against the Houston Dash, big deal. Their first goal was scored by a Brazilian that was not named Marta. It was Camelia. But Marta had the next two goals. Marta had a brace, and then Alana Kennedy finished off the scoring. The Dash had two really, really, really late goals. Pauliana scored in the 89th minute, and then Nichelle Prince scored in the 96th minute.
So you gotta be kidding me.
Yeah. 96th?
Yes, sir.
Did Carly Lloyd play?
I don't think so. No, she did. She did start. But even more important, I think, is the fact that Morgan Bryan went back into action. And kind of going back to the U.S. women's national team, you could tell that they missed Morgan Bryan in the midfield as well as Tobin Heath, but rather have one than the other. And it's good to see Morgan Bryan back. Here's just hoping she can stay healthy for the Tournament of Nations. Chicago Red Stars and Washington Spirit, they drew 1-1. Chicago scored first. Washington scored first with Francisco Ortega in the 42nd minute. And then Christian Press decided to ruin what could have been their first win on the road this season. She earned a penalty kick off a foul by, I believe it was Christy Mewis. I might be wrong. Maybe Christy Mewis, but Christian Press scored. North Carolina beat Boston 3-1. Kind of expected. North Carolina is the number one team in the NWSL, and Boston was missing Rose Lavelle. Somebody that really has impressed me, though, you hear all this talk about Rose Lavelle. She was the number one draft pick, and then, of course, Mallory Pugh, she's in the league. But Ashley Hatch, she was the second overall pick in the draft this year. She scored her second professional goal in 2 straight matches. So she's a young player, and she's coming through the ranks. Drama at the end. FC Kansas City hosted the Seattle Reign. Alexa Newfield scored first for Kansas City, and then a few minutes later, Megan Rapinoe tied it up. And then in the 81st minute, Kawasumi scored for the Reign. 3 minutes later, Megan Kelly equalized it for FC Kansas City. So I think it was a fair draw for both of them. I think there were some fouls called in the game that weren't necessarily the right decisions. I thought the yellow card on Shea Groom was a little but it could have easily been 4-2 in favor of Seattle. But Becky Sauerbrunn, what else is new? She worked her tail off the whole night.
Becky Sauerbrunn doing her thing. Always vital to whatever team she's playing on at the moment.
And I read something about Becky the one time. I think this was a while ago, like way before when the U.S. women played against Russia, is that even the U.S. women's national team, she's a captain for FC Kansas City. She's also a co-captain on the U.S. team with Carly Lloyd. But the players have now kind of gravitated more towards Becky in more of a leadership role, because she was the one that spoke out the most with the equal play, equal pay and the CBA agreement thing. So she's pretty influential on both sides.
That's great for her to be doing. It's all a process with that. Hopefully the next time around it'll be more equal pay for the women there, and hopefully the NWSL women the ones that are not women's national team players, can get their thing figured out too, because that's an issue that might be a problem for the league. Maybe when the season's over.
At this point, any negotiations are extremely crucial on that front. So I'll hope they'll kind of handle that at least in the early stages with kid gloves, because this is the potentially ultimate make or break. So I wish for the best.
Wait, I don't think you were on when we talked about that, Rachel. Like, what do you think? I mean, obviously it's fair for them, right? Like, they should deserve to have. Maybe they don't get as much pay as, say, the women's national team players. So that's being paid by the U.S. Soccer, but to get something closer to that, because $15,000 a season, that's terrible.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it has to do with the federation as well. It doesn't make sense to me at all. That's why you don't have a lot of players from a lot of different federations in the league. I was just looking at it the other day. There was only 3 players drafted in this year's NWSL draft out of 40 players that weren't from the U.S. And the other federations they were from were Canada and Mexico. I remember when the U.S. women played Haiti, during their victory tour, I think it was, the commentators were saying that the Haitian players didn't even get paid for the game. Like, they had to scrape up money to get to, I think they played in Detroit and somewhere else. They had to scrape up money to get there. It depends on the federation, but, either or, these are professional players. And realistically, a lot of the players abroad and from different federations are kind of better than the U.S. ones. So it's a game of cat and mouse.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's just sad to hear. They just. I mean, I'm just surprised that they didn't have a separate thing in place for them already. But with the league getting to the 5-year mark, and I know it has to do more with the fact that they got that TV deal and the thing with Go 90, and that's why they're doing it. But still, just don't remind me about that thing with Go 90s. I wish all the time that wasn't the case, but it is what it is. Just should all be on the NWSL's website. It would be so much easier.
And or YouTube.
Yeah, you could have it on YouTube, get your ad revenue. I don't know how much they would get in ad revenue there, but yeah, and I get it. They're making money off of that, and again, that's why they're going after this, and they deserve it. I mean, if you're going to try to have the best league in the world, you got to have a lot of the people on equal pay. I know MLS has this problem too, but you got to have them on more than $15,000 a season. That's ridiculous. I mean, that's not everybody, but that's the minimum for them, and that's terrible.
And if you break that down, you're looking at what? 15 over 24, 5/8, so $625 a game.
Ouch.
Oof.
Yeah. That's arena football numbers. Just saying.
Yeah. I mean, there's people that work at McDonald's that make as much as them. That's terrible. Not bashing McDonald's at all, just saying. There
was something I forgot to mention quick. For Washington, during their match, Caprice Didisco, I'm probably butchered her name, so I'm so sorry, any Caprice fans out there. She returned her first game action since tearing her ACL last October.
Awesome.
Nice.
Oh. Well, I think that's going to do it for all the stuff we have with Rachel, unless y'all got anything here.
Go Russia!
Yeah, Russia getting those 3 points.
Vamos!
That's the wrong language.
You know what? Let me just say what I want.
That's what the Mexican fans are going to be telling Mexico when they play Russia later.
Look, Portugal's going to take care of them. Ronaldo's going to come to his senses and realize that both Messi and Neymar got hung up on tax charges too. You just go out there, prove me right, win another trophy, get some better handlers, and have everything take care of themselves. And if you're Russia, play well enough so that your Gatorade is not spiked with polonium. Apparently that's a thing over there.
Oh, God.
You'll be okay.
I can't attest to that at all. Sorry.
Well, I mean, and instead of that, I mean, mysteriously disappearing. I heard strange things about how people that apparently don't do things right in Putin's eyes, something about them showing up in a certain condition in front of the Kremlin. But again, Russia, don't worry about that. You're not hockey. There's less pressure on you than you think.
It's all about unmarked graves. That's what they do.
Yeah, that too.
Well, the coach might have one. Had,
Depends.
he
If
had
he
to field
shows
so
up,
many questions about Putin. He was just like, "Can I talk about soccer?"
if he shows up covered in green one day, that's when I'd start to be concerned.
Well, I think that's gonna do it for us here. Erik and I'll be back in a little bit to talk about the two Confed Cup games. U.S. Open Cup has now got their round of 16 bracket, and of course MLS action from the weekend that returned. And my lord, did they have a lot of games! Well, Rachel, we'll be seeing you around.
See ya. Go Team Russia.
Oops. Hello and welcome to another Soccer to the Max, the weekend edition, a little later than normal, as just Sunday had a lot going on and it didn't work out, and so we're coming to you on a Tuesday morning basically. So we'll have a really short turnaround between now and Thursday, but we're not going to get too in depth on the games. One, because Erik's the only one that's kind of watched them. We're going to talk more about Confed Cup for this show, as far as getting in depth on something, and then on Thursday we're going to get to pick it up more as there's a Canadian Championship game which we won't get to watch, but we'll talk about, and then of course the 4 Confed Cup games will have happened again by the time we get to Thursday night, and then 4 MLS games that are happening on the midweek on Wednesday. So we'll get to cover all that on Thursday. But of course, I am not here myself, Mr. Erik Watkins. How
Tonight, I'm okay, and I just say 2 things. Tonight, Major Arena Soccer League, don't think you haven't missed my radar entirely. Plus, folks, we gave you a Saturday edition with Rachel. We're in a bit of fixture congestion here, okay? So sue us.
Yeah, you will have. You already heard Rachel on talking NWSL, and when we talked about the Russia-New Zealand game a little there too. But we'll get to cover the other games and all that stuff. I know we had promised that we were gonna do our normal MLS roundup, but this is gonna be a little bit different than normal, just because it's Tuesday by now. Y'all are already looking ahead to other things, and it's hard when it's just one of us and not both of us watching some of these games. So I think we should go ahead and start with the stuff we can talk more about, and that's the 3 Confed Cup games that have happened between Sunday and Monday. Portugal and Mexico, it took a little while to get going, but it lived up to the hype. And you had a nice kind of ending to the first half, and then a really hectic ending to the second half with a 2-2 draw. Both teams now heading into their games with, let's say, everybody takes the 3 points off New Zealand. What Russia does against Portugal and Mexico is going to be a big deal as far as for Russia and for Portugal and Mexico, who advances.
I kind of like how Cristiano Ronaldo had a tempered approach after the draw, but
no, that was a Bill Belichick approach, okay? Let's say the most generic thing on planet Earth. And
exactly. Tempered, which basically is saying, look, I apparently owe the Spanish government $16.5 million. We did not win our opening match. Can we kindly move on? Now, can someone determine how he was man of the match for that one? I mean, did I miss something? Are the people that watched that blind? I don't get it.
Well, I mean, you can say Ronaldo had a hand in setting up at least one of the goals.
Wait. How? I do remember clearly Cedric scoring almost out of nowhere. Okay, I give a little credit to him with the, what was it, the Quaresma goal?
Yeah, the Quaresma goal. That was his pass.
Yeah, fine. But if it
And I think it was Ronaldo that initially shot that allows Cedric to get the ball where he did, and then Cedric's got another deflection, and then it went in.
Okay, but if it wasn't for Hector Moreno's header, that's a 2-1 Portugal win.
Right, but Hector Moreno's header... Hector Moreno also caused the first goal. So,
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think overall it was good, although it was a bit of a sleepy start. They flubbed that choice. I'll say that. They flubbed the choice. Everything else still went well. Mexico, granted, they wanted to get their first win against a European opponent in the Confederations Cup. They may get that against Russia. This was a very good showing.
Yeah, this was a really good showing. Credit to them for fighting back and in the, at the death, you would say, getting that point. And then also, Chicharito getting on the board. Carlos Vela looked really good, in fact, to the point that I don't know why you're taking him off. At this point, Dos Santos and Vela should be able to play together on both sides, and then have Hernandez in the middle. But, it is what Osorio wants to do. He likes that player rotation. I think there are times where you need to think beyond what you do and say, look, this is a big game. You can't do that player rotation stuff.
Right, but Osorio, the way he sees it, this may be a little bit different from the way the Mexican press see this. In fact, I can practically guarantee that he's not under pressure to win this tournament. He's under pressure to avoid what nearly happened in Brazil. Remember, Mexico...
I think he's under pressure if they don't get out of the group.
And, yes and no. I mean, he's under a little bit of pressure, but imagine the kind of pressure in what I was alluding to. Mexico nearly missed qualifying for Brazil.
Right.
They nearly did. So I think the big thing is, now that they're first in the Hex, go ahead and continue, win the Hex, and if you have a great performance in the Confederations Cup, fantastic. But if you have slightly better than mediocre, they're willing to accept that.
Right.
Now,
I mean, I think they already showed you in that game against Portugal, other than, say, Russia takes a point off somebody, you're not really worried about anything because he brings them to play every time. And I don't think you're worried about, them deciding that they're bigger than New Zealand by just showing up and maybe they take one off and New Zealand, now I'm not saying that they go and bounce them 5-0 or whatever, but, if they score 2 and they comfortably get past them, that's fine. That's all you need to do. You got your 4 points. Let's go on to the game that matters, and, let's see what happens there. And you bring it, yeah.
But who's to say that they don't bounce the mailmen 5-0?
Well, I mean, if they do, great. Then you don't have to worry about anything. But what I'm saying is all they have to do is get to the semifinals, and they did what they're supposed to do, right? Nobody's expecting them to, win with the 4 other major competitors, and from what we saw, Group B looks like it's going to be ultra competitive. So
Yeah.
that's going to be fun to watch, and it's just something where like Mexico. I think what Osorio feels like is he's got a lot of terrific players, and the rotation for him works and whatever. But you just got to be careful in certain situations where the team just didn't look the same when Vela was taken off. So you have to analyze that, right?
Oh.
All those notes you took. Pay attention there.
Oh, trust me, there was a lot of red pen going on in those situations, so I think that weighs heavily. And you're absolutely right, but I'm thinking, like I said, you're dealing with 2 different levels of pressure. What he feels himself and what everyone around him feels.
Right.
After this tournament, those are going to be reconciled. But I think
let's think about it. This tournament doesn't mean anything.
Right. This is my point. It's like, even if they don't make the semifinals based on a fluke tiebreaker, Mexico's not really going to care. It's get back out there, win the Hex. Get us back to Russia where it really means something.
Yeah, and all that matters.
Just don't do anything stupid.
Yeah, like just don't catastrophically fall down the 3rd or something in the Hex. And then what matters is what you do when you get to the World Cup. Let's see what your group is, and we'll go from there. But I think both teams showed a lot. Again, I think there was times where Mexico had a lot of possession. They played really well in that game. Portugal was sitting too deep, and it almost cost them at times too. So now I think it's probably just because they probably felt like, well, we've got the speed to go on the counter. We got Ronaldo. That's going to scare some people. Mexico's defense did not look good when Portugal was going the other way. But,
And of course, you had a lot of guys for Portugal take some big knocks early. You saw Ronaldo down, Nani down, so that kind of questions things a little bit. And even with Portugal, with that mental advantage, saying we know we can do this, and Mexico's defense not playing their best. When Ronaldo led the counter, as an individual, he had some good passes and things, okay, but if you're judging by the whole 90 minutes, he seemed off.
Yeah, he seemed like he might have been taking it easy a little bit,
a combination of taking it easy and then setting up what could have been a great attack by just drifting out wide to the right.
How many times did we see 3 guys go where Ronaldo was?
Yeah, and I was like, why are you going that far? Why are you not passing? What is your problem?
But it's smart because that's what happened on that goal with Quaresma. Moreno forgot where Quaresma was because he was ball watching, and Quaresma's wide open, and he makes the pass. So, Moreno redeemed himself with that goal with the guy's hand in his face. But I also should mention the one time that VAR was completely correct without any controversy was on the first goal that was annulled because there was 4 guys offside.
By a good couple yards in some cases.
Exactly.
When I saw that, I was like, okay, this is what VAR is intended to do. I like this.
Right. But was not so in the next game. Chile and Cameroon.
Oh.
This was really fun. Cameroon was up to it. Chile was doing what they do, which is just attack the crap out of you. And Cameroon was fighting right back. They were attacking them too. And back and forth.
Yeah, and for the fun, I will say it was fun, but towards the second half, I guess because of the constant attacking pace, you could tell both teams kind of wore down a little bit, and as you got 60th, 65th, 70th minute, it almost became a little bit sleepy. So I'm wondering, did they put too much emphasis on the tempo in the first half, and then that kind of wore them down?
Well, that's what Chile does. They try to wear you down by attacking.
Yeah, but Chile was worn down themselves, too. That's proportions.
But that's going to happen. That's what you're doing, is you're just attacking. I mean, this isn't as bad as the World Cup when you had Sampioli, and that's really what they did. But, I think PT takes a little less of that extreme of an approach. But still, and I think when Sanchez came in, the team got lifted a little bit too, which Cameroon doesn't have a guy like that. They could bring out the bench to just, oh wow, okay, well this just took a step in class in one direction, and this is where VAR became the center of attention.
Oh,
because this is they have the almost NFL rule in place of every goal is reviewed. Which I don't mind that from a perspective of we don't have any kind of challenge system. We don't have any kind of system for the coach to go, hey.
Nor should there be one.
No, I don't think that.
I'm going to say that right now. So anybody listening, don't get any ideas.
The college football system can work. It's been shown that it can. But, still, the point is that it takes away from some of the celebration, as was pointed out on the Fox panel multiple times, and that sucks because that's one of the awesome things about soccer is the elaborate celebrations and all that stuff, and some of this you don't get because if it was a close play, as we saw in this game and the Australia-Germany game, it can affect what happens. They don't get to celebrate, and then you find out that it was, and then you have to do the late show, or you get what happened on the first goal, which was, well, first of all, Cameroon scored and Vidal fell down.
Yeah,
and they called a foul, so that goal was annulled. That didn't have anything to do with VAR. That was just. I think that was a little bit soft, but, I don't know. What do you think?
Players like Vidal, who wound up being the one rescuing them with his goal, but players, they're very gamey like that. They know, hey, maybe the referee doesn't have the best angle on this. Maybe if I set myself up just the right way, maybe if I put on a little bit of show, something can happen. Lo and behold, he played that to perfection.
Yeah, and there's a little bit of a star system there too, right? Vidal is not he's a really good player. He's played on Juventus. He's plays for Bayern Munich right now, so people know who he is. And he goes down. You might blow that whistle a little bit too prematurely. And then you have the goal with Vargas, where he is technically offside, and this is one of those, you could have let it go, and I think, for the most part, in those situations, people would have said, alright, it's so close, you kind of gotta let the goal stand, because the whole point of this is because you want more goals happening. And also, they're making that big deal about they're trying to enforce rules to prevent time wasting, right?
Yeah.
So, to have more goals. So, but then on the other hand, like we talked about off air, if you allow one goal like this, don't you have to allow every goal like this?
Exactly. And that's why I say, to VAR's credit, it's in part allowing more goals. FIFA's been doing things every generation or so. It started over in European leagues in the 70s. changing the structure of the league and how teams win matches and getting importance. FIFA finally adapted it in the 90s. That's how recent 3 points for a win is. Now they're trying to do this because you're in that another 20-year lull. Scoring's a bit down. We're trying to do something. But VAR to me isn't about just scoring goals. It's about making sure that the decision is right. And I like how they're doing it with a little bit of the human element still there, having referees watch the screens. And with that goal, yes, it was barely offside, but by the letter of the law, even if it's your shoulder, you're offside. So I get that.
Do you like Ali Wagner's take, though, that there needs to be some daylight between the player and the last defender, or do you think what they're doing now is okay? Because you're going to have a lot of those where it's really, really close, and you could use the NFL reasoning and go, well, there's not enough evidence.
Yeah, and I was about to say, if it gets to the point, and I would like to see VAR with that wrinkle, it's like, hey, we can't see anything, it's your decision. I've seen it in different levels of football, I've seen it in cricket, I've seen it in rugby. VAR needs to do this for soccer. And I think she's right. There has to be a little bit of daylight there to really make it conclusive. Because if you think about it, if you're getting to the point to where it's super slow-mo, you have to freeze frame or play it at 2, 3, 5 frames a second. That's going to take a while, and players aren't on the pitch and fans in the stands. They're not going to see it like we're going to see it at home. So to include this kind of universal fairness, yeah, tweak that just a teeny bit.
Yeah, and I think also if you're going to use the there's not enough evidence, you have to explain that to the crowd and the audience, and you have to explain that to the people watching on TV, which isn't always the easiest thing to explain. And we also still haven't seen the referee go and watch a monitor himself. How much time does that take off the clock? Because, you know, right now what they do is they do the whole, my head's on the earpiece, wait, TV sign. No.
Yeah, just like in rugby. Then everybody goes to the scoreboard. If it's green, try. Red, no try. Yellow, referee's call. Same thing in cricket. Green light means they're not out. Red means they're out. Yellow means it's umpire's call. So that kind of thing does take time. I would hope, since with soccer, VAR is in its infancy, they get to the point to where they are in the NFL. Instead of ref going under the hood like in the old days, hand them a tablet, get the feed.
That's what they did. The times I've seen it used, the fourth official or somebody in the stands there has the TV there, and he can watch it and then make the decision, and we go on.
Yeah. I think if they implemented on that system where it's more portable, then it would be perfect.
Right, and then that wasn't all for this game. So we've had 2 goals disallowed. We go to halftime 0-0. And then you have the 1 goal that does stand, Arturo Vidal, hitting a very nice header into the net.
Saving the match for the Chileans.
Yeah, because Cameroon was, at that point, like, really going after it. They were putting Chile under pressure. And then Chile gets that goal, and things kind of, start heading the other way. Then, right at, close to the death, you get Vargas. This Sanchez and Vargas are going. The keeper comes out. 2 defenders go in front of the goal to try to block anything. Sanchez hits it, deflects, and then when Vargas is there, who was offside the first time, but because the defenders again repositioned, that makes him onside, and he put the ball in the net. And then they had to go back and review it. At first, they said no, and because the ref put his flag up,
Mm-hmm.
and then they reversed it and gave the goal. So that was fun to see. It's different to see as well. You're reversing somebody else's decision.
Yeah, and personally, I don't think that goal should have stood. Not for the play in the box. That was kosher. But on the breakaway pass that led to that, that's where the offside was. Now,
I think what they're trying to say is that Vargas was not the person. It's that whole, okay, he's not in dangerous. I don't know how
how they
he's not the man with the ball, right?
Yeah, because how it is if you are offside when the ball is kicked and you receive the kick, the flag goes up.
Right.
So were they saying that he wasn't the one who received that pass?
Right. So he's not the one that is in play. The one in play is Sanchez. He's onside.
Oh.
Vargas never gets involved until there's the deflection after the defense resets.
Right.
And then
so the two defenders coming in, again, once everything happened in the box, everyone was onside.
Right.
That I understand. Boy, hell, that is confusing, though. I'm glad you cleared that up, because seeing the replay, seeing another replay, seeing them explain the replay of the replay, I was still confused.
Yeah, even Mr. Joe, or Dr. Joe was questioning himself as he kept talking through it, and I'm sitting there going, "No, he's not active." That's what they call it. Okay, it's either you're active or not active. Mm-hmm. So they're saying Vargas is not active at that point. He becomes active once the defenders reset, which is fine because then you have two defenders in front of him.
Right.
And it's, so, it sometimes, even if you know the game, they throw stuff at you. That took me a while to learn because that's when they change offside to the whole, we're not going to call it until he touches the ball.
Couldn't they just go back and do like the old North American Soccer League and have the blue lines and just create offsides that way?
I think they don't want to do that because then you got to have a moving blue line and.
No, it wasn't a moving blue line. It was just 35 yards out.
Yeah, I don't know what they want to do that though. That's
because oh, jeez. It doesn't. It takes a lot to make my head hurt. That got me going.
So Chile win 2-0. I think that was really undeserved. Cameroon had played very well, to the point where I feel like they might have deserved a point out of that. But
they were 9 minutes away from getting a point. That's just sad.
Yeah, it sucks.
Very
that's
sad.
huge. That's huge because you get a point against Chile, you put Chile in a difficult position. Let's say Cameroon goes and beats Australia. Well, they're in a good position there where all they have to do is just avoid Germany whooping them, and you never know, right? Mm-hmm. So this changes the dynamic of things, but it does wind up the way we envisioned it after the first round of play, as Germany and Australia squared off on Monday. And man, at first looked like Germany was just going to run away with this thing.
Nope.
But Australia kept fighting back, including the first, we got to make a decision on, is this a foul or a penalty or what is this decision? So you have a handball that's decided that they call it not a handball. The ball goes in the net, so they review it.
Mm-hmm.
The referees decide that he did not intentionally try to have his arm out, which...
Yeah, they called it ball to hand, not hand to ball.
So they allowed the goal to stand. And I don't know, that one was... he did try to turn. I think that's one of those, again, 50-50s. You could call it one way or the other.
Well, it's 50-50, and for that, the key is, was his arm in a natural position? And if you're up and trying to turn like that, we're naturally going to have our hands and arms at a certain way. So I can see why they say because he's turning, they can consider that a natural position, and that's why it would be ball to hand.
Right. So it's just, I thought that was okay in the end, and it also allowed Australia to get a goal and put themselves back in it. It's then, Draxler looked really good in this for Germany. Lindell, he looked really good in this for Germany as well. You had basically nobody on the German team was older than 30.
No.
And, man, it shows you how deep Germany is.
Hey, didn't they just win the last UEFA U21 championship, and they're doing well in the one that's going on now? In Germany, they don't win the Confederations Cup, but they use it as a proving ground for their young stars, and credit to them trusting the ideology of your great young guns for Die Mannschaft and saying, hey, you do well here, don't worry about winning, worry about getting yourself a spot when we come back.
Yeah. Right, exactly. Germany at certain points looked like they were just running Australia off the pitch completely. They couldn't get possession. But then once that first goal went in, Australia started getting a lot more confidence. And the second goal, the hell was going on there? Like, that ball was hit. It took like 3 deflections, bounces back out, and he hits it in. I also should mention on the handball goal, the goalkeeper at no moment should be losing that ball. It goes right in his hands, right where he decides to fall down, and still goes out of his hands. That's a little bit on you too there. And Australia at some points could have had a third goal to tie it up. I really think that he waited way too long to bring Tim Cahill in.
I get the fact that he's 37. I get the fact that just wrapped up the season in Australia.
You can't teach goal scoring prowess.
No, right. And this is my point. They waited and waited and waited, and at some point, yeah, you're not giving him 90 minutes. You can give him 20, 30 minutes. Get yourself some legs, especially the point to where that's that close.
And he not only scores, he can create offense for you too.
Yeah.
So I just don't understand that from.
Yeah, he's encountered this style. He's played here in MLS. He had a very great career in England, so he knows a lot of the European way. And the reason why you move to a bigger confederation is for developing better players, playing against better competition, and having that sort of caliber. You now have it there, and you really do yourself a disservice by not using it effectively.
Yeah, and if you're going to go and say that you're tired of Australia getting the whole, we played well, then play to win the game and stop being a little... I think it was a little bit of an ego thing. Like, I got this far without putting him in. I want to prove that my players did this.
And guess
Don't do
what?
that.
Okay, try bringing that home and knowing you're in a dogfight with Saudi Arabia and another team in your World Cup qualifying group, and you see what happens.
Right. I think...
No, this isn't like the International Cup where you don't field a team, because you know you're going to mop the floor with everybody. No, you're behind the 8 ball. You put yourself in a position to be legitimate. Play like it.
Yeah. And I think overall, again, Australia looked good at certain times. Just they could have given themselves a shot to try to get that point much earlier, and just you don't put your best goal scorer in. I think that's only hurting yourself.
Yeah, it's stupid.
Hopefully he learns, because you still got to play Chile later, and that's no small feat either. And you also got to make sure you get the 3 points from playing Cameroon, which they already proved that they know they got to get the 3 points off you too. So, I mean,
Australia could finish this tournament with a single point.
Yeah.
Because of this.
Right. And they could have had a point already in their biggest game. So lots for them to think about when Thursday rolls around. But yeah, really, other than Russia and New Zealand, where Russia just basically outplayed New Zealand to no end, which you should expect with,
Mailman!
Exactly. Playing.
Thank you for the setup there. Much appreciated.
So, I try my best. So, Mexico now get to play that part as well. And then Portugal and Russia get to battle for who can get those vital 3 points. And Russia, they don't have to get 3 points from one of these, but obviously they'd have 1 foot in the door if they did. So,
needless to say, if they get a point, then they get another couple of days without polonium spiked Gatorade.
That Putin pressure is strong. I'm telling you.
Again, not as strong as on the hockey team, Ovechkin.
Well, no.
But it's there.
Right, it's there, and that's the point, though. When you're hosting the World Cup, it's gonna be there. We're not.
Exactly.
You're not talking about South Africa here. You're talking about Russia. That at one point, well, when they were in the Soviet Union, they were a power. They've never really been anything when they were Russia outside of Euro 2008, but still.
Exactly. You have any idea how much money Putin spent to get this World Cup?
Yeah.
It takes a lot to bribe all those people. It's not easy.
But all right, so Thursday we'll have round 2 Confederations Cup done. We'll get to talk about that again. But let's transition over to MLS here. You had some interesting. So I'm just going to run down the scores, and then we can talk about certain things from certain games if we want. So Atlanta goes and beats Columbus 3-1. Chicago beats New England 2-1. They continue to win games. Orlando and Montreal in the most goals scored in one game for this week. Orlando and Montreal 3-3. Orlando come back at the death to get the point. Toronto 2-0 against DC United. DC United still can't score goals. San Jose and Sporting KC. Sporting have about almost 60% plus possession. Still can't score on San Jose. Colorado continue to win 2-1 against Portland at home.
Epic celebration on that winner.
Yes, exactly. And Paulo Mascherani just keeps looking like a genius every time. Real Salt Lake finally get their players back, and guess what? All the young guys looked really good, but it's also Minnesota who has the thinnest roster in the entire MLS. Vancouver, FC Dallas draw. I hated seeing this. Dallas should have got the win here.
Home cooking! BC plays, and it's football season. The Lions have just won 42-10 in preseason. It's magic in no. You laugh, but there's magic in the air now. It's legit.
Very true. Houston drew with LA Galaxy. This is good for Houston because they don't play very well on the road.
They really shouldn't have drawn. And can I kind of go back to Orlando, Montreal?
Yeah, go ahead.
Seriously, Lions, Number 10, Ignacio Piatti. How did he get a brace? Everybody and their mother knew damn well he was going to do something with the ball. Yet,
that's how you know you're great. Even if you know it's going to him, you can't stop him.
I mean, kudos Perez Garcia getting a goal, Carlos Rivas actually doing something right with the ball when it falls at his feet, but that should have been 3 points.
No Kyle Laren in this game either because of the DUI.
Obviously.
Thing.
I mean, yeah, they did the right thing by not rewarding stupid.
Agreed. Other than, who was it that was forgiving him? Oh, it was some of the players, right? They were ready to...
Some of the teammates, and I understand that, but it was still stupid. It's one of those things where you smack him upside the head a couple of times, then you put his arm around him and say, come on.
And then you get New York Red Bull, who have been also terrible away from home, winning 2-0 against Philadelphia.
Thanks to BWP.
Yes, thanks to BWP. Thanks to Tyler Adams, who was really good in that game. And Philadelphia, they need a number 10 so bad. They don't have anybody that creates. And they just, if their wingers are not doing it, they have problems. And that's not good.
And this kind of something that I've noticed. Is it me, or do they put the hydration breaks too late in the halves?
Exactly.
I'm like,
have them in the 60th minute.
Yeah, it's like, okay, 30th and 75th. Why not, I don't know, 25th and 65th?
Or 30 and 60.
Well, no, because then that's still too late in the first half. Why I say 25 and 65 is you play 25 minutes, hydration break. 20 minutes plus a little bit of stoppage, halftime. 20 minutes, hydration break. Then 25 minutes plus stoppage, match is over.
Maybe at that point you do 70th.
Yeah, I'd be willing to do 25 and 70.
Because there's always at least 3 or 4 minutes of stoppage time at the end of the half. So
right, especially with the hydration break. That's why 25 and 70, that's about optimal for the timing of the game and the pace of it. And
yeah, I agree with you. They should fix that issue. Galaxy's still able to win even without Gio Dos Santos, or not win, get the draw. So even though Galaxy should have won that game, but still, I think for me, getting to see a lot of the guys we saw in the Under-20 World Cup for the U.S. do well for Real Salt Lake is a positive sign. Again, Minnesota, thinnest roster in MLS, still have defensive issues. And when it goes to going up front,
hey there, we might need someone on the ball there.
That was really good in that spot. Colorado, look, you know what? The Colorado did this last year, and everybody talked crap, right? And so here we go in this season again, and everybody's talking crap. And what does Mastroeni do? They go, when they're at home, they win, or they draw. I mean, this is what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, especially at altitude.
Yeah, you take advantage of that. Make people wear themselves out. And so that when you go into these situations where you need that goal, guess what? It's much easier for you because you haven't been wearing yourself out the whole game.
Now, why can't they do that while wearing the yellow jerseys?
Those yellow jerseys are terrible, man. I'm telling you.
I still disagree.
That's fine. I mean, are they better than the U.S. Gold Cup jerseys that we saw?
Yes. And here's why. And I said this before we talk about why NYCFC needs to do a better job on their pitch configuration. so you don't see guys like Clint Dempsey hydroplaning a couple of feet when they suffer a foul and go to the ground. Christ, the weather was atrocious. But before I go into that, I said, off air, there was only a couple of different tweaks that they could have made to the Gold Cup kits to make it perfect. I understand what they were doing with the Stars and Stripes, which is the official team nickname, and trying to do with the flag, fine. But they should have done one of two things. Instead of the blue sleeves with white stars, you invert that. White sleeves with blue stars. Or you keep the sleeves as is, and instead of blue and red hoops across the chest, you do red and white hoops, truly signifying the flag. That
Yeah,
I would
do
have
the FC
understood
Dallas
perfectly.
colors, red and white.
And
Yeah.
you did the red and white hoops before several years
I
ago.
love those.
Yeah, I had no problems with those. Just the style of numbers looked ugly. Those with these numbers and the stars and stuff on the sleeves, that would have been perfect. But no.
Yeah, or
they
even
find
the
a way to
other
screw it
FC
up.
Dallas colors, the blue and white, look good.
Yeah, but I said too much blue for the red hoops. The sleeves. No, they did it wrong.
Yes, sadly. But that's the shirt that they've chosen, so we will have to just, deal with that.
Tweet about it relentlessly. Hashtag you did it wrong. Hashtag red, white, and blue. Hashtag better hoops.
Yeah, and YCFC beat Seattle. Seattle still kind of looked like they're in last year, stuck in last year a little bit.
They did, but again, that game, the conditions were subpar. That had
fair.
a bit to do with it in my mind.
That's fair, but still, like NYCFC, I got to give Vieira credit. He's been making some really good subs lately, some real good decisions about when to play certain guys where.
Not to mention, I think...
And it's not guys that you would know. Like,
no.
It's just,
and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think, hasn't he kind of backed away from the 4-3-3 a bit and changed that tactic? Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, okay, let's see how this works. And I'm like, wow, okay.
Yeah, it's really allowed Villa to shine. McNamara's been very good. Harrison as well. And then the defense has gotten better. So that all goes, and of course it helps when you got Sean Johnson back there too. But I just think NYCFC much, much better than last year as far as being a much more complete team. And you talk about a team that attacks well, but they had deficiencies, and Columbus showed it here in this game against Atlanta. Martinez is great. He has been one of the better. I mean, he was hurt, and he showed it here why he is very vital to this squad.
Boy, aren't they glad to have him back.
Exactly. But Columbus, again, now they missed a wonderful chance from Justin Merrim getting a wonderful pass in there, and then he completely just missed it. But Columbus, like, this thing with your defense, it keeps parting like the Red Sea. Like, you bring in Jonathan Mensah, he has been an absolute bust. And then the rest of the defense has just been so bad. Like, if they're not scoring and keeping up with the other team, they're not doing well. They're what, like 4-9 in their last allotment of games?
Something like that. They've been on a terrible skid going back to that homestand, which, ugh. And guess what? You're just about at the halfway point of the season right now. This is where the points start mattering even more.
Yeah, we're at week 17 now. Exactly halfway point, because it's 34 weeks, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, so that's your, I guess since we're at the halfway point coming into this right now, let's look at the standings. So you have Toronto FC ahead by a point on Chicago. They got 32 points. Then Chicago has 31, and then you get NYCFC in third at 27, Orlando fourth with 25, New York Red Bull, and then Columbus. New York Red Bull have 23, Columbus 22, Atlanta right there on the line at 21, New England 20, Montreal 18, Philadelphia 16, and DC all the way at the bottom, still 15 points.
Surprise, surprise, surprise.
Yeah, no surprise there.
You look, anybody want to do a GoFundMe to get me an Amtrak or a plane ticket up there? I can still do the rain dance. I have no problem.
We need to see this rain dance, people. Come on, let's make it happen. Sporting KC, along with Real Salt Lake, has played the most games in the West. They are leading in 27 points with their first. Houston Dynamo are tied with two other teams at 24, Portland and FC Dallas. FC Dallas has 2 games in hand right now on the others. LA Galaxy actually have 3 games in hand, and so do Colorado. So those 2 teams could come up and make this much more interesting. But this is a lot closer. After you get to 24, you got a point separating 4 teams. Vancouver, San Jose above the line at 20, LA Galaxy and Seattle underneath the line right there at 19. Then you got RSL 17, Colorado 16, and Minnesota United. What do you think? What do you know? 14 at the bottom.
Yeah, so, how the Twins doing in the Central
and they
there?
Still have not won a game away from home yet.
And they're probably not going to.
They have 4 wins at home, interestingly enough. But
yeah, well, when you're playing at a place like TCF Bank Stadium, I mean, it's kind of inevitable.
Yeah, and then they actually have not even drawn at home yet either. So that's also...
yeah, and imagine what it's going to be like when they move into their new digs.
I want to see that. They keep talking about it. I want to see it happen. So here are the 4 games plus the Montreal-Toronto Canadian Championship game that's also going to be on Wednesday. But you have DC United Atlanta at RFK. So I guess we know what's going to happen there. Minnesota at home against Portland. Ooh, the revenge game from the 5-0. Colorado at home against the Galaxy. And Seattle at home against Orlando. In the 10:30 p.m. spot. Thank God we're doing this on Thursday.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, of course, you get Mexico, New Zealand, Portugal, Russia. Ooh, I can't remember the games now. It's Germany, Chile, and Australia, Cameroon. So, 4, other than anybody playing New Zealand, 3 games that you really want to watch. How the hosts react to their squad with Ronaldo playing against them, and the rest of Portugal, and then also the big game of Germany-Chile. That should be really fun to watch.
I'm actually curious about the Mexico-New Zealand game. Everybody kept mentioning, Chile 7-0, 7-0, 7-0. If I'm Mexico, I'm like, okay, we just drew against Portugal. I go out and I crush the mailman 8-0 just to get everybody.
Didn't they score like 9 in the World Cup qualifier? Or that was the aggregate. Never mind. They scored like 7, or was it 8 in the game against New Zealand that they won to get into the World Cup last time?
I don't think that was just in the one game, though.
They scored, it was 1-0.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then, let's see. I can't find it right this second. But I think what it was is they won. It was 1-0, and then they went to New Zealand. Was it or?
Let me do me some investigating.
And then they got 6 or 7 on them. But it was 5-1. Okay,
See?
so they beat them 1-0 and they beat them 5-1.
Okay, so again, 1-0 and 5-1, but I swear, what was that? All right, so 5-1, and then they wound up winning the second leg in New Zealand 4-2. So it was 9-3 on aggregate. But that's leading to my point. Everybody was talking about the Copa America Centenario. Oh, this team lost 7-0 a year ago today. 7-0, 7-0. I'm like, you know what? After we just did, hang 8, 9, 10 on them just to shut everybody up.
Exactly. Just make Russia be scared for their lives going into that game. Because you just obliterated New Zealand. But we'll see what happens. Should be interesting, fun Wednesday and Thursday to watch. And those MLS games will be joy to watch too. I think even, if I'm not mistaken, NWSL might have some. Do they have some midweek? No, they don't. They only have games on Saturday.
Yeah,
So,
the MLS. I mean,
Sunday.
they've got Wednesday games. They've got games on my birthday on Friday, and they have a full slate on Saturday and a Sunday game. Don, we've talked about this.
No, it's next week that NWSL has a whole slate of Wednesday games.
Oh boy.
We might have to. Well, we're doing that one that week on Thursday too, but we might have to get Rachel to watch these because it goes from 7 to 10:30 next Wednesday.
Oh, sweet Jeebus. And
no. There's game. Yeah. It's Wednesday. Yeah, it goes from 7 to 10:30, and then they have games that Saturday too.
And I'm sorry, but I'm gonna still flat out say this: Go 90 is still kind of crap.
Ugh. I hope next year they just come up with a paid service like MLS has.
Yeah.
And you can start it cheap. Like MLS Live, when it first started, it was like $20.
Yeah.
You know, you can charge $20 for the whole season. It's on your website, and you can create those condensed games that everybody loves, and you can watch all the games in, like an hour and a half?
Closer to 2.
Yeah. Hour 40, hour 45.
Mm-hmm.
So, still, I mean, for the 10 teams that you have in this league, that's 5 games.
Mm-hmm.
You know, not bad at all. So,
no.
I'd
be willing to throw some coin to that.
And I think that next week, or is that in July? When does that Tournament of Nations start for the?
I do believe it's July because it's also right around the same time as the Gold Cup, or right after.
Yes, it's July. July 27th, 30th, and August 3rd.
Okay, so right after the Gold Cup is over.
Well, I think Gold Cup might still be going on at that point. But you're like in the latter stages where you're only playing like 1 or 2 games.
Yeah, because if Gold Cup is still going on at that point, then you're getting close to the final.
Yeah, exactly. You're getting close to the final. Which, yes. No, it ends right before then.
I know my summer of soccer scheduling. Thank you.
Yeah, so, I mean, you get 1 day off, and then you're talking about the Tournament of Nations again. Woo, we don't get a break ever. But, yeah, I'm sure Rachel will just be super excited to go from men's national team to women's national team. But again, we'll be back on Thursday. Hopefully you enjoyed our 2-part discussion here, and we'll see you then, everybody.
MASL, boy, you got lucky.
Oh, no, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Talk about that MNSL.
Okay, and I promise I won't take up too much of people's time, but MASL, Major Arena Soccer League, a league that is close to my heart. Baltimore Blast, Florida Tropics, those are my teams. They've been undergoing some changes. They had their international challenge, a team, U.S. players against international players, battle it out in St. Louis. U.S. beat the world team 13-9. It was a good game. During the second half of that game, the league's commissioner came out and said, okay, here's the changes that we're going to make. I knew that there were some things coming as far as expansion. You have a team in Toronto, a team in the Rio Grande Valley that's coming in, and you have a team
the Rio Grande Valley?
Yes.
So it's, what, half Mexico, half Texas, or what? Or
actually, no. It's Texas, but you do have some Mexican teams.
Okay.
You have the Soles de Sonora. There's another Mexican team whose name escapes me. And you have a team going to Monterrey, and that'll be the second time that Monterrey is at a franchise. They will be the Monterrey Flash. But they've said Mexico is a burgeoning market, and they want to take advantage of that. And Sonora, they've been to the Ron Newman Cup final, or the Ron Newman Cup, which is a championship series the past 2 years, losing to Baltimore.
So how do you
twice.
watch these games? Just for
YouTube.
Other people? YouTube, okay.
MASL, they have their own dedicated channel, their own dedicated Twitter. They stream all the matches live, and they have replays. I highly suggest you watch them. And if you're in one of these emerging markets, Rochester, the Lancers are coming back. There's going to be an announcement about that in the near future. Go to these games. They are very exciting.
I loved playing indoor soccer when I was in college and stuff. And
I still say, Friday I'm going to be 31. If someone would be willing to train me for a year, I think that I could make a team at 32.
Hey, why not?
Yeah, if someone's willing to do that, I mean, come on. I'm game. But they announced, I wouldn't quite say wholesale changes along with the expansion, but there are some changes that I like, changes that I don't. I have said for the longest time that their season is too short. During their peak in the 80s, they played upwards of 44, and in one season, 52 games.
Oof.
Now they're down to 20.
Yeah, I don't know. I think when you get up into like the 50s of any league, that's a lot for somebody to try to consume, though.
Yeah, and even with this is where it's a good mesh of hockey. I think somewhere in the 30s to about 40, especially since you're going to have 20 teams, give or take. Right. That's a good number.
Yeah, 40, you have one home and away, and there you go.
Yeah, but for right now, they only play a 20-game schedule. They finally announced that they're going to expand that season to 22 games.
I mean, expansion there.
Right? I mean, are you going to take that little of a baby step and say, oh, it depends on crowd size and this and that? When you're playing in a place like Ontario, California, what are you thinking about with crowd size anyways? You've drawn your line in the sand. I've seen that place.
I think you want to make sure people are actually going to the games, though.
But they are. But I mean, okay, if you're in arenas that can hold 10, 12,000, and you want to try to sell them out, I get why you would only add one home game. but you're playing in arenas that hold, 6 or 7?
Yeah.
One home game extra isn't going to make a difference.
You're right about that, yeah.
Yeah, so I would like to see them. You don't have to go 40 right away. Until you get your stable core teams, 30 or in the low 30s.
Fair enough.
Now, with that, they also mentioned playoff structure. As it stands currently, you don't really have conferences, you do have divisions. The East, the Central, the Southwest, and the Pacific. The top teams in each division battle it out in what is essentially a best of 2 within the division. Then after they win the division, it's another best of 2 for your quote-unquote conference finals, where East plays Central, Southwest plays Pacific. And then those winners battle it out for a best of 2 Ron Newman Cup, your championship series. They've wanted to make tweaks to this. I have personally said, make the Ron Newman Cup a full best of 3, rather than having it be decided on a 10 or 15 minute mini game. I think for a championship series, that's dumb.
I agree.
They've actually gone backwards. Now, the one thing that I do like that they mentioned is they want to tweak up which divisions play each other. Instead of East, Central, Southwest, Pacific, they may do East, Southwest, Central, Pacific. So travel-wise, it's still not that bad. But they want to change the first round to a potential best of 3, especially with local rivalries like your Mexican teams, Atletico Baja, Soles de Sonora, Ontario, San Diego, Chicago, Milwaukee. That's perfect. But then after that, they want to do it a winner-take-all. They've been down that road before, and again, I am not the biggest fan. Something about a winner-take-all for indoor soccer does not amuse me.
Yeah, I don't know if that works.
And now they also talked about a new distribution deal as far as with TV and stuff. I would like to see that happen. Maybe it would inspire Comcast to get me FS2 or Fox Soccer Plus, and you have a game of the week on one of these auxiliary channels. Get yourself a wider audience outside of your local broadcasts on YouTube. There's good potential there. And just like how we were talking about with the USL down the road maybe becoming MLS 2, the commissioners floated the idea of creating MASL 2, a developmental league. Now, how that would work with what you would call like a bit of a minor league in the Premier Arena Soccer League, I would love to see them work it out so that way that becomes like an MASL 2. So there's a lot of good setups and things they have going, but I think when it comes to the seasonal structure, that's where they're doing it wrong. And the commissioner's a young blood from a good law firm. He's better than that. I feel he's better than that.
Yeah. All right. Is that it?
Yeah. That covers everything.
Well, there you go. Very thoughtful discussion here from Erik about the MASL. He told you where to check it out. You should go watch it on YouTube.
Follow them on Twitter. Follow the teams on Twitter. Go on YouTube. They still have the International Challenge up. They've got the Game 2 of the Championship Series, which I highly suggest you watch. Yeah, get a good taste of it for this coming season.
Well, all right. So now, for sure, we will sign off here. We will see you Friday morning on the download. Later.
The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.